You are wasting the most powerful force you have, and you don't even know it. The room is dim. The blue light of a screen paints your face in a tired glow. Your shoulders are rounded. You're breathing shallow. Your mind scattered between windows that promise stimulation but deliver nothing of substance. The cursor blinks like a heartbeat on pause. Your eyes drift, not because you're searching, but because you're avoiding. Avoiding the mirror. Avoiding the question. Avoiding the truth you already feel in your bones. You are bleeding out your strength in tiny, invisible ways, day after day, click after click, habit after habit. You are draining the very current that could have built your body, your craft, your name, your future. And you're doing it quietly, privately, ritualistically, like a man praying to a god of emptiness. You call it relief. You call it normal. You call it everybody does it. But deep down you know it's theft. It's theft of your focus, your edge, your aggression channeled toward creation, your raw capacity to build and endure. You don't notice it all at once. It doesn't come like a punch. It's more like humidity, slow and suffocating, turning the sharpness of your will into fog. You used to have a spark in your eyes. Now you have tabs. You used to make plans and attack them. Now you make playlists and scroll through them. You used to feel hunger. Now you feel craving. Different things. One leads you to war with your limits. The other leads you to bed with your weakness. The man in the chair knows. He can sense that something vital is leaking. He shuts the laptop, and the silence gets louder. He can hear his heartbeat again. He can feel the dull heaviness in his chest, the residue of 1,000 small surrenders. He doesn't need a lecture. He needs a decision. He needs to remember what he is. Not an animal trapped by impulse, but a builder, a channeler of force, a man who can carry chaos and make something out of it. He needs to remember that the thing he's wasting is not just seed. It's direction, momentum, purpose. It's the will to endure discomfort and transform it into strength. It's the furnace of discipline that was meant to harden him against a world that will never stop testing him. You think it's just about a release. It never is. It's about what follows. The brain fog, the slump, the indifference, the voice that says tomorrow with a little more confidence than yesterday. It's about the mission that never gets started because pleasure keeps arriving first. It's about walking through a day feeling like you've already quit before you began. You feel it. The softness, the drift, the subtle disconnection from your own power, the lack of fight. You don't attack the day. You negotiate with it. There's a reason ancient disciplines taught restraint. There's a reason every path of mastery includes a vow against the mindless spill of energy. They understood something modern men have forgotten. What you do with your desire determines the shape of your destiny. Unfocused desire devours you. Directed desire builds you. A man who can't command himself cannot command anything else. A man who cannot hold his energy cannot hold a vision. And a man who cannot endure the fire of his own urges will never withstand the fire of the world's resistance. Look at the man in the room. He's not weak. He's untrained. He's never been told that the ache he feels is not a problem to be escaped, but a resource to be wielded. He's never learned to sit with it, breathe through it, push that pressure upward, into the barbell, into the page, into the business, into the practice. He thinks he needs release. What he needs is transmutation, to take the raw, primal surge and forge it into concentration, in a hunger for the work, into a sharpened gaze that stops wandering because it now has a target. This moment, this quiet, private, relentless moment, is a crossroads. On one path, the loop. The same loop you've been running for months, for years. Desire, distraction, discharge, dullness, denial. You tell yourself you'll change when you feel stronger. But strength is what discipline gives you, not what you wait for. On the other path, the decision. The simple, hard, clean decision to stop living as a hostage to your lower self. Not forever in some abstract sense, just now, just tonight, just this click, just this urge, just this breath. You think you'll miss something. You won't. What you'll miss is the fog. What you'll gain is weight in your words. You will walk differently, not with ego, but with gravity. Your presence will speak. I am not easily moved. Your eyes will stay. Your focus will hold. People will notice, even if they can't name it. They will feel the difference between a man who is leaking energy and a man who contains it. Containment isn't repression. Repression is fear. Containment is power. It is the self-owned choice to direct your life force toward creation instead of dispersion. It is the refusal to let your biology run your biography. It is the quiet, daily practice of choosing long-term potency over short-term sedation. You want to feel alive? Stop trading aliveness for a few seconds of escape. You want confidence? Earn it by keeping promises to yourself that no one else can see. You want clarity? It lives on the other side of silence, sweat, struggle, and restraint. The man in the chair stands up. He doesn't make a speech. He doesn't dramatize it. He doesn't announce a 90-day challenge to the world for applause. He just decides, no more waste. He writes down what he's building. He sets rules. He removes triggers. He cleans the room. He schedules the gym. He reads instead of scrolling. He breathes deeply when the wave hits and rides it like a king, not like a victim. He learns to observe the urge without bowing to it. He understands that every time he holds the line, he thickens his discipline like a muscle. Every time he doesn't, he learns. No self-hatred, no theatrics, just the repetition of sovereignty. In a few weeks, he notices something. He's not seeking stimulation. He's hunting challenge. He's not dreading mornings. He's up before the alarm. He's not fantasizing about a different life. He's carving this one with the blade of his will. He's not repulsed by his reflection. He's accountable to it. The screen loses its power. The chair loses its hold. The blue light becomes a tool, not a trap. The room, once dim, begins to feel like a forge. Most men will never know this version of themselves. They'll die scrolling. They'll die relieved. They'll die having never discovered the depth of force they were capable of if only they'd chosen to reroute their energy into the work instead of letting it dissolve into the void. They'll call restraint extreme, then spend decades imprisoned by compulsion. They'll call discipline toxic, then complain that they lack direction. They'll laugh at the idea of sacredness, then ache for meaning. Not you. Not anymore. You can feel the line being drawn. You can feel the quiet hatred for your own excuses hardening into resolve. You can feel the old patterns scrambling to pull you back with old arguments. Relax, it's normal. Lighten up, tomorrow you'll start for real. But there is no tomorrow. There has never been a tomorrow. There is only now, repeated infinitely until you die. Who you are in this now is who you become in every one that follows. So stand up, turn the screen off. Let the darkness be dark. Breathe into the discomfort until it becomes fuel. Let the energy rise and channel it into something that can hold it. A stronger body, a harder mind, a clearer mission. Journal until the fog becomes a plan. Train until fatigue replaces anxiety. Build until you no longer have time for the habits that used to own you. Treat your seed like your time. Finite, potent, not to be wasted. You are not broken. You're not weak. You are undirected. Direct yourself. You're not lacking power. You're leaking it. Contain it. You are not waiting for the perfect strategy. You are postponing the only thing that matters, the moment of command. The moment you tell yourself, with calm finality, this ends now. I will use what I have to become who I must. The room is still dim, but you are not. The light on your face is no longer a screen. It's the fire of decision, the kind that doesn't need an audience because it burns from the inside out. You don't reach for the keyboard. You reach for the pen, the weights, the work. You pull your attention back into your body, into your breath, into your backbone. The conflict doesn't disappear, it becomes your training. The urge doesn't vanish, it becomes your teacher. The weakness doesn't define you, it becomes your proving ground. You are wasting the most powerful force you have, and now you do know it. Which means you're responsible, which means there are no excuses left, which means you're finally free to choose. Not tomorrow, not when you feel like it. Now, close the loop, close the tab, open your life. There's something inside you that most men never understand. Something they were never taught to respect. Something they were never told to guard. It's not just physical, It's not just biological. It's the core of their potential, their clarity, their focus, their drive. It's the inner furnace from which discipline is forged and meaning is sustained. Your seed is not just fluid. It is a force. It carries more than DNA. It carries intention. It carries instinct. It carries the raw signal of your biological drive to create. Not just life in another body, but life in your own. In every sense, it is energy that is supposed to move upward, not always outward. It's the same energy that fuels intensity, ambition, sharpness, and masculine presence. And when you treat it like waste, you start to feel like waste. You notice it in ways that are hard to put into words. You sit a little lower in the chair. Your mind drifts a little further into fog. You chase distractions instead of facing resistance. You feel less urgent, less focused, less grounded, less alive. It's subtle, but constant. You don't see it on your face right away. You see it in the gap between what you know you should be doing and what you actually do. The goals you write down but don't act on. The plans you start but never finish. The workouts you skip. The conversations you avoid. The hesitation. The slouch. The softness. Because every time you give in to impulse, you are voting against your own strength. Most men today are overfed and underfocused. They eat too much, scroll too much, ejaculate too much. They leak energy constantly and then wonder why they're tired, directionless, and lost. They've been convinced that pleasure is the point of life, when in truth, purpose is. And purpose doesn't grow in a body that's too weak to hold pressure. There's a reason ancient warriors practiced retention. There's a reason monks, samurai, Stoics, and mystics guarded their sexual energy like gold. They knew that it was never just about sex. It was about power. The power to focus, to build, to command yourself. It was about cultivating fire in the belly, stillness in the mind, and direction in the heart. But today, men are told that release is freedom. It's not. Release is only freedom when it comes from strength, not from slavery. When it's a choice, not a compulsion. When it's earned, not expected. But what most men experience isn't freedom. It's escape. A momentary collapse in a comfort, followed by the slow decay of self-respect. You know the feeling. You know what it's like to sit there afterward, hollow, dulled, less alive than before. You know what it's like to close the laptop, shut the tab, and wonder, what am I doing with my life? You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're just depleted. Depleted of the very thing that could make you unstoppable. Your seed is life force. If it can create another human being, imagine what it could do for your vision, your vitality, your vocation, if you didn't waste it. Every time you hold that energy, you sharpen. You become more precise. Your focus returns. Your eyes lock in. Your posture straightens. Your voice deepens. Your presence intensifies. The world feels different because you are different. You are carrying something again, something real, something heavy, something potent, and the people around you can feel it, even if they can't explain it. Women notice, not because you're pretending to be confident, but because you are. Not because you're faking masculinity, but because you're grounded in it. Your energy is no longer leaking, it's contained. And contained energy is powerful. Your creative spark ignites. Ideas start flowing. Your hand want to build. Your feet want to move. You want to train, to write, to act, to fight for something. You stop tolerating things that waste your time. You stop living passively. You stop apologizing for your ambition. You remember who you are when you're undistracted, when your attention is under your command, not under the control of an algorithm or an addiction. And let's be clear, this is not about fear. This is not about shame. This is not about pretending sex is wrong. Sex is sacred. Intimacy is beautiful. But compulsive, mindless mechanical release, that is destruction. That is the cheap imitation of connection. That is the slow erosion of inner strength under the mask of pleasure. Your seed is not meant to be poured into pixels. It's meant to fertilize something real, something alive, something that matters. You must realize that you are not an animal. You are not a slave to your biology. You are not a prisoner to urges. You are a man. And that means you have the capacity to decide what to do with your energy. A Stoic doesn't deny nature. He directs it. He channels it. He places his will at the helm of the storm and navigates toward purpose. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you'll find strength. That includes your impulses. That includes your appetites. That includes the urge to surrender to temporary relief at the cost of lasting power." Discipline is not restriction. It is respect. Respect for your energy. Respect for your future. Respect for the legacy you're building with every choice you make in private. Your strength is not defined by what you feel. It's defined by what you choose to do in spite of what you feel. When you waste your seed, you don't just lose a moment. You lose momentum. You lose confidence. You lose your edge. And when that happens over and over, you begin to forget what it even felt like to be sharp, to be rising, to be in command of your life. That's the real tragedy. Not the act itself, but what it replaces. Because every release without purpose is a reversal of your path. And that's the path most men are on. Backwards. Downward. Away from discipline. Away from power. Away from meaning. But you don't have to go that way. You can reclaim it. Right now. With one decision. One choice to hold instead of spill. To direct instead of distract. To build instead of numb. To grow instead of gratify. Start with one day. Let that energy rise. Let it burn. Let it test you. Let it forge something new. Channel it into your work, into your body, into your mission. Push the bar. Build the business. Make the call. Clean the room. Go into nature. Breathe. Feel what it's like to be full again, not just in body, but in will. This is your source. Not the only source, but a powerful one. One you've been wasting. One you've been handing over to empty screens and empty routines, while wondering why you feel empty inside. That ends now. Guard like gold. And remember, this isn't about denial. It's about direction. You're not suppressing something bad. You're containing something sacred. You're reserving your strength for something that deserves it. And when you live this way, when you carry your power instead of leaking it, you'll notice something strange and beautiful. You won't feel like you're missing anything. You'll feel like you're finally becoming everything you were meant to be. Not because you got something, but because you stopped giving away what was already yours. You will remember that your seed is not just physical. It is potential. It is your future, concentrated. It is a signal to the universe that you're not wasting time, that you're not wasting your gifts, that you are not wasting yourself. Because the man who controls his energy controls his world. And the man who learns to hold his power becomes the kind of man who no longer needs to chase anything. Because everything begins to move toward him, not by magic, but by magnetism, by presence, by focus, by force, by the power you carry inside. Guard it, grow it, become worthy of it, and you'll never wonder again where your strength went. Because it never left you. You just stopped giving it away. You live in a culture that feeds you comfort, rewards weakness, and masks poison as pleasure. From the moment you wake up, you're bombarded with options. Notifications, entertainment, noise, temptation. Everything is trying to get your attention, not to strengthen you, but to soften you. Not to make you powerful, but to make you obedient. Numb, distracted, passive. It starts subtle. You check your phone before your feet touch the floor. Scroll for a few minutes, then a few more. Soon you're not waking up with purpose. You're waking up into reaction. You're not building a life. You're consuming one. One that someone else created. One that gives you just enough dopamine to keep you from changing, but never enough to fulfill you. You're being trained to stay stuck. Because here's the truth they won't tell you. The system doesn't want you powerful. Powerful men are dangerous. Powerful men don't comply. Powerful men are independent. They can't be soul garbage. They can't be pacified. They can't be manipulated through guilt or shame or fear. So instead, the culture trains you in weakness. How? Through pleasure. Not real pleasure. The kind earned through effort, discipline, and depth, but cheap pleasure. Fast food. Fast entertainment. Fast sex. Endless scrolling. Endless stimulation. An endless war against your attention, your energy, your future. You become addicted to ease. And what is the result? You can't sit still for 5 minutes without needing distraction. You can't hold silence without discomfort. You can't go one day without looking for some digital hit. Likes, messages, videos, pornography, validation. Your mind no longer belongs to you. Your time no longer belongs to you. Your focus is fractured and your will is diluted. This is not by accident. This is by design. Because a man chasing pleasure is a man not chasing purpose. Look around. What are most men doing? Scrolling, numbing, avoiding. Addicted to the next hit of stimulation. Porn has become their escape. Social media, their drug. Fast food, their sedative. And over time, they lose their edge. They stop thinking clearly. They stop acting boldly. They become quiet, confused, compliant. This is not masculinity, Doc. This is emasculation. You may not see the chains, but you can feel them. You feel in your bones, in your hesitation, in your guilt, in your constant second-guessing. You know something's wrong, but you don't know what it is. You feel restless, but too tired to move. You feel distracted, but don't know how to focus. You feel empty, but can't stop consuming. It's not just you. It's millions of men, trapped in a system that feeds their lowest instincts while starving their highest potential. Every scroll, every fake release, every small surrender, each one is a little theft. A theft of energy, a theft of drive, a theft of your future. You've been sold a lie that pleasure is happiness, Doc. But Stoic wisdom teaches us otherwise. Pleasure, when pursued as an end, becomes a prison. True strength comes not for what you indulge, but from what you resist. Every man feels urges. Every man feels desire. That's not weakness. That's nature. The difference between the weak man and the strong man is that the weak man acts on every impulse, while the strong man chooses which to obey and which to overcome. Strength is forged in delayed gratification. It's in saying no when it would be easier to say yes. It's in choosing the long term over the short term. It's in going to the gym when your body wants to sleep, reading when your brain wants to scroll, working when your comfort wants to drift. Real men don't follow pleasure. They use it as a reward, not a ruler. Understand this. Pleasure is not the enemy, Doc, but worshiping it is. A Stoic doesn't fear pleasure, but he never lets it govern his life. He sees it as a momentary sensation, not a goal. He values discipline far above indulgence, because he knows that true peace comes not from escaping discomfort, but from embracing it, from facing challenge, from rising through pain. That's where the edge is. That's where meaning is born. But the culture doesn't want you meaningful. It wants you mild, harmless, drifting from one impulse to the next, surrendering your will, your focus, and your time, day after day, year after year, until you forget what it means to feel alive. You've seen it. The man who scrolls through endless content never acts. The man who watches porn instead of building confidence. The man who seeks entertainment instead of pursuing excellence. The man who always wants more but never sacrifices for it. He wants success without discipline. He wants strength without pain. He wants confidence without action. He wants purpose but isn't willing to pay for it. That is the result of a culture built on comfort. But comfort is not your friend. Not if you want to be a man of power, a man of vision, a man who walks into a room and changes it. Not because of his status, but because of his presence. That kind of presence only comes from pressure, Doc. From facing the things that most avoid, Doc. From choosing clarity over comfort, Doc. Discipline over dopamine, Doc. Purpose over pleasure. It's not easy. It's not meant to be, but it's real. And real is rare today. You'll be told you're too intense. You'll be told to relax, to let go, to enjoy yourself, to be normal. Let them say that, Doc. Because normal is broke, Doc. Normal is addicted, Doc. Normal is soft, Doc. Normal is lost. You are not born to be normal. You were born to be excellent. To lead, not follow, Doc. To build, not beg, Doc. To master, not submit. That means making war with the parts of you that crave comfort at the cost of your calling. It means saying no to the scroll, the hit, the high. Not because you're better, but because you're aiming higher. Because you know that you are being hunted by habits that look innocent but are killing your spirit slowly. Look at your time. Where does it go? Look at your habits. What do they build? Look at your energy. Is it rising or leaking? This culture will not make you strong. It will make you comfortable enough to stay weak. That is its design. That is its trap. To rise above it, you must discipline yourself. Control your phone before it controls you. Guard your eyes like your future depends on it, because it does. Choose books over memes. Choose focus over entertainment. Choose solitude over noise. Choose restraint over release. Each of these is a small act of rebellion. Each is a declaration. I own myself. And the more you choose that path, the more strength you build. Not loud strength, not performative, shallow, fragile strength, but deep, rooted, silent strength. The kind that doesn't need to prove anything because it knows. The kind that doesn't chase approval because it moves with purpose. The kind that doesn't crumble when life gets hard because it was forged by hardship. So ask yourself, are your pleasures making you stronger? Or are they softening you? Is your life a reflection of discipline or a result of distraction? Is your mind under your control or rented out to algorithms? You already know the answer. And if you don't like it, change it. Not tomorrow, not when it's convenient. Now, because every time you delay discomfort, you delay growth. And every time you resist the pull of cheap pleasure, you reclaim a piece of your soul. This is the way, not the easy way, but the way of strength, the way of discipline, the way of the man who is not owned by the world, but who masters it by first mastering himself. And that man begins where the rest stop, by walking away from pleasure long enough to find his power. That is the new rebellion. That is the forgotten edge. And that is how you rise above the noise and reclaim the future that distraction is trying to steal. The very time you waste your energy, something is taken from you. Not all at once. Not in ways you see right away, but silently, slowly, piece by piece, you're losing power. Because your energy is not just a physical thing. It's your motivation, your clarity, your masculine edge, your capacity to act. And each time you give away for nothing, through meaningless indulgence, scrolling, porn, or weak habits, you don't just feel tired. You become tired of yourself. You begin to lose trust in who you are. Let's break this down. Motivation. Every time you release your energy for pleasure without purpose, you kill a piece of your drive. The voice inside you that once said, let's go build something, gets quieter. And instead of chasing a mission, you chase another hit of dopamine. You sit there and say, I should do this, or I'll get to it later. And deep down, you know, you've already lost. Because motivation is not just some emotional spark. It is your natural masculine hunger to move forward, to conquer something, to transform your inner vision into real-world action. But when your brain is flooded with false satisfaction, what's left to chase? Why build a business when you've tricked your mind into thinking you've already won? Why chase your goals when your nervous system already thinks it's being rewarded? That's what fake pleasure does. It robs you of the need to act. It gives you the reward without the effort, the illusion of satisfaction with none of the substance. And so, bit by bit, motivation fades. You start saying, maybe tomorrow. But tomorrow never changes because you don't. The result? You stay in the same place. Month after month, year after year, nothing is built. Nothing changes. Not because you didn't want it, but because you lost the fire to pursue it. And the worst part? You did it to yourself. Confidence. Let's go deeper. When you waste your energy, you lose something even more dangerous, your confidence. Because confidence isn't something you get by reading a quote or shouting affirmations in the mirror. Confidence is built through self-trust, through knowing that when you say you'll do something, you actually do it. But every time you say, I'll stop, and then you don't. Every time you say, just this once, but it becomes every night. Every time you set a goal, and then avoid the work. You destroy the only relationship that matters, the one with yourself. Your word becomes weak. You begin to feel like a liar in your own mind. You can wear the clothes, talk the talk, post the content, but underneath it all, you know the truth. You say you're focused, but you're distracted. You say you're on your grind, but your energy's leaking. You say you're disciplined, but you've built habits of escape. And so your confidence fades, not because you're incapable, but because you're out of integrity. Confidence comes when your actions align with your values. when your habits back your words, when your internal world is consistent with your external behavior. If those don't line up, you can't trust yourself. And if you can't trust yourself, you will never feel truly grounded. You'll always second guess. You'll always overthink. You'll always hesitate. Not because you lack ability, but because you're carrying shame. Silent shame. The kind that no one else sees, but that you feel every time you're alone. And it all comes back to energy. Every careless release. Every impulsive indulgence. Every just one more time that turns into self-disgust. It chips away at the foundation of who you are. Not physically, spiritually, and eventually that erosion becomes visible. In your posture, in your tone, in your decisions, in the way you walk into a room. It shows. Because a man who leaks energy cannot fake presence. A man who avoids discomfort cannot fake strength. And a man who breaks his word cannot fake confidence. Masculine ambition. Now, what about your ambition? Every man is born with it. A seed of greatness. A desire to conquer something. Not necessarily others, but himself. To dominate his craft. To achieve mastery. To build a legacy that outlives his name. But what happens when that energy is never channeled? When it's leaked into addictions? Wasted on screens? Lost in fantasy? Ambition shrinks. You begin to think small. You begin to doubt your capacity for greatness. You start settling for comfort, for mediocrity, for the kind of existence that never challenges you, but also never fulfills you. And once a man stops aiming for more, he dies. Not physically, but spiritually. His eyes become dull. His voice loses fire. His presence weakens. And worst of all, he starts resenting other men who do have drive. Because deep down, he remembers that he once had it too. But he let it go. He let cheap pleasure win. He let culture tame him. He let his strongest instincts atrophy in the name of self-care and relaxation and just living. But the masculine spirit wasn't made for relaxation. It was made for expansion. When you respect your energy, your ambition grows. It sharpens. You become more intentional, more focused, hungrier, not in a desperate way, but in a purposeful way. You no longer want to feel good. You want to become great. That's the difference. The drive to build and create. Lastly, let's talk about your creative power. This is not about art or content or design. It's about your masculine duty to build. To take the invisible and make it visible, to bring ideas into form, to construct, to lead, to leave something behind that says, I was here. But when your energy is scattered, your drive to build dies. Because building requires patience. It requires discipline. It requires the ability to delay gratification and sit with boredom and resist the thousands of distractions calling your name. You can't build a business, a body, a legacy, while numbing yourself every day. You need your full energy, your full clarity, your full presence. Otherwise, you'll always be thinking about starting, planning, waiting for the right time. You'll have notebooks full of ideas, but nothing built. Dreams with no execution. Goals with no follow-through. And it's not because you don't care. It's because your energy isn't focused. You've let it drain out one moment at a time. And so there's nothing left when it's time to act. This is why so many men feel stuck. They think they need more information, more time, more motivation. But what they really need is more retention, of energy, of focus, of inner strength. Because when you stop leaking power, it starts building up inside you. And suddenly, you're not stuck anymore. You're clear. You're sharp. You're decisive. You start to act, not because of hype, but because of alignment. You know what you want. You know why it matters. And you finally have the energy to go after it like a man. That's what you lose every time you waste yourself. Your fire, your confidence, your ambition, your ability to build something real. And none of that comes back just because you want it to. It comes back when you decide that your energy is not for sale. When you stop being a slave to impulse and become a master of your attention. That's the turning point. When you begin to move not from craving, but from purpose. And in that decision, everything changes. What happens when you stop wasting yourself? When you stop chasing pleasure? When you stop scrolling endlessly? When you stop releasing your power for nothing? something rare begins to happen. You begin to retain. You start holding on to the one thing that makes everything else in your life possible: your energy. Not just physical energy, but mental clarity, emotional stability, spiritual drive, and raw masculine momentum. And when you retain, the first thing that returns is clarity. You wake up and feel it, not in some loud, dramatic way. It's subtle, like fog lifting, like static fading. You can think again. You're not scattered. Your mind isn't bouncing from one distraction to the next. You're calm, present, tuned in. You look around and realize the world hasn't changed, but you have. What used to distract you now feels empty. What used to tempt you now feels weak. And what once seemed hard, working out, building, focusing, leading, it now feels natural, even necessary, because that's the truth. When you stop leaking energy, your mind sharpens. You start seeing things clearly. The games people play, the lies you used to tell yourself, the fake confidence of influencers, the noise of cheap dopamine, the emptiness of instant pleasure, all of it becomes clear. And in that clarity, a question rises. What am I really doing with my life? That question is not always comfortable, but it's powerful. It cuts through the noise. Because clarity makes you face the truth. You're not here just to feel good. You're here to build, to evolve, to lead. You weren't made for escape. You were made for expansion. And clarity is the first step back to that path. After clarity comes focus. Not forced, not fake, but real, natural focus. The kind of focus that doesn't need music or caffeine or motivation. You just lock in. Why? Because now your energy is finally yours again. You're not scattering it across hundreds of mindless actions. You're containing it, sharpening it, directing it like a blade. You start to notice the difference. Instead of thinking about working, you start working. Instead of jumping from app to app, you stay on one task until it's done. Instead of consuming every opinion, you begin to trust your own mind. That's what retention does. It restores your attention span. You go from reactive to proactive, from soft to steady, from distracted to disciplined. This is rare in a world addicted to the next thing. But that's why it's powerful. Focus has become a superpower. When you can sit, stay with a task, and execute, you win. Because most men can't do that anymore. But you can, because you're retaining. And what happens when focus deepens? Your energy builds. Not just mental energy, not just physical strength, but a deeper current, a kind of presence. You walk into a room, and people feel it. Your shoulders are relaxed but strong. Your eyes don't dart around. You're not looking to be liked. You're not chasing attention. You're not seeking validation. Because your energy is contained. You're not leaking anymore. You're radiating. This is why people say women can sense when a man is retaining. It's not magic. It's primal. On an instinctive level, women can tell the difference between a man who is full of his own power and a man who is empty, drained, and numbing himself. They may not be able to describe it, but they feel it. A man who retains doesn't have to chase. His presence does the talking. He's grounded, centered, focused on something bigger than lust. And that's what makes him magnetic. Because in a culture full of boys looking for escape, the rare man who contains himself stands out. He's not easily amused. He doesn't give away his attention. He's not desperate. He chooses with discernment. And women feel that. They respect it, even if they don't fully understand it. More importantly, he respects himself. But retention isn't just about attraction. It's about alignment. Because when you retain your energy, your values and actions begin to sync. You stop watching people win, and you start building your own win. You don't need to consume so much content because you're creating something real. You don't need to escape boredom because you're moving with purpose. You don't need to pretend to be confident because confidence is returning. And it's not loud or arrogant. It's quiet, grounded, unshakable. You begin to walk differently, not faster or more aggressive, but with certainty. You know where you're going. Your steps aren't random. Your eyes stop drifting. You stop looking for the next thrill. You stop craving short-term highs. You start living for something higher. That's the shift from craving to conviction, from addiction to action, from boy to man. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being powerful. It's about recognizing that your seed is not just biology. It's not just lust. It's life force. And when you keep it, when you honor it, when you channel it, you become unstoppable. This energy was meant to create life. After all, if it can create a child, imagine what it can do when directed toward your goals. It can build businesses. It can transform your body. It can master skills. It can elevate your income. It can lead nations, move people, and change your bloodline. But only if you retain it. Not just once. Not just for a streak. But as a way of life. That doesn't mean never releasing. It means never wasting. It means honoring what you carry. Because when you do, the world responds. You'll notice. Strangers respect you more. People listen when you speak. Women look longer. Friends ask what changed. But nothing changed out there. Everything changed within. And it started the moment you decided to retain. Not just your seed, but your discipline. Not just your energy, but your mission. Not just your attention, but your identity. You realize that you're not here to be entertained. You're here to be excellent. And it all started with this one powerful choice. To stop leaking and start leading. Discipline is not a punishment. It is not pain. It is not restriction. It is not some dull, joyless grind. Discipline is power. It is the only path to real freedom. And it is the only way a man becomes dangerous, in the best sense of the word. We live in a world that tells you to do what feels good, to trust your emotions, to follow your impulses. That message is poison, because what feels good right now often destroys what matters most later. Freedom isn't doing whatever you want. Freedom is having the strength to do what's right, even when it's hard. Discipline is the bridge between the man you are now and the man you are meant to become. Think about your urges. The urge to scroll, the urge to escape, the urge to indulge, the urge to release, the urge to quit when it gets hard. These urges don't come from your higher self. They come from the part of you that wants to stay comfortable, distracted, weak. That part of you doesn't care about your future. It only cares about avoiding discomfort. But discomfort is the forge of growth. Discipline is the fire. When you resist those urges, you're not missing out. You're taking back control. You're declaring, I am not a slave to my instincts. I'm not ruled by my desires. I choose who I become. That choice, repeated daily, builds strength no one can give you and no one can take away. The Stoics said, no man is free who is not master of himself. That means you're not free just because you have choices. You're only free when you can look temptation in the eye and say no. You're only free when you can delay gratification for something greater. You are only free when your emotions don't dictate your actions. Self-mastery is not for the weak. It's for the few who want to rise. The few who understand that power is not about controlling others. It's about controlling yourself. Because if you don't rule yourself, something else will. Your cravings, your fear, your comfort, your ego. And when those rule you, you lose everything that matters. Your purpose, your edge, your momentum, your peace. Discipline gives you direction. Without it, you wander. You drift. You live in reaction. You say, I want to build something, but your habits betray you. You say, I want to grow, but your actions repeat the same cycle. Wanting means nothing without discipline. Everyone wants success. Everyone wants freedom. Everyone wants power. Few are willing to sacrifice for it. Few are willing to wake up early. Few are willing to say no to cheap pleasures. Few are willing to suffer now to build something that will last. But those few, the ones who decide, then discipline themselves to stay on the path. They're the ones who rise. Not because they had more talent, not because they had luck, but because they had the one thing that separates boys from men. Self-command. Let's get practical. Discipline starts with small decisions. You say no to one more scroll. You get up when the alarm goes off. You work even when it's boring. You train even when you're tired. You stay focused when others drift. Each decision is a vote for the man you want to become. Each act of discipline builds a kind of quiet, unshakable confidence. You stop needing motivation because you've built momentum. You stop doubting yourself because your life is proof of your word. You stop chasing validation because you walk in integrity. Discipline doesn't just change your habits. It changes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance, and you begin to see yourself as the creator of your reality. That's the power of discipline. Most people run from it. They think, I don't want to be strict. They say, life's meant to be enjoyed. And they're right. Life is meant to be enjoyed. But here's the truth they never learn. Discipline creates the freedom to enjoy life fully. Because when you're disciplined, your mind is clear. Your body is strong. Your bank account grows. Your goals become real. Your relationships deepen. Why? Because you're no longer sabotaging yourself. You're not caught in cycles of guilt, regret, and shame. You know you've done the work. You know you're in alignment. And that brings peace. That brings confidence. That brings freedom. Not the freedom of excess, but the freedom of mastery. Discipline is not about being hard on yourself. It's about being honest with yourself. It's about seeing where you're soft and choosing to harden. It's about seeing where you're hiding and choosing to show up. It's about facing the uncomfortable truth that you are the reason your life is the way it is, and you are the one who can change it. But only if you embrace the path of routine, the path of structure, the path of resistance, the path of strength. Not once, not for a season, but for a lifetime. Because discipline is not a phase. It's a lifestyle. The world doesn't need more distracted men. It needs focused men. Men who choose principle over impulse. Men who build instead of consume. Men who control their urges instead of being controlled by them. Men who can sit in silence, alone, and know they are aligned with their highest self. That is discipline. That is power. That is freedom. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Because everything you want, confidence, respect, wealth, love, peace, it all flows from one foundation. Your ability to discipline yourself in the small moments. To say no when no one is watching. To get up when it's easier to stay down. To keep going when it would be easier to quit. Discipline is not about intensity. It's about consistency. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. It's not about control over the world. It's about control over yourself. Because when you master yourself, the world responds. Doors open. People follow. Opportunities find you. Not because you chase them, but because you became the kind of man who attracts them. Discipline is not punishment. It is the highest form of self-respect. It is the path to your greatest self. It is the edge you've been missing. And it begins the moment you decide, I will no longer be ruled by comfort. I will no longer betray myself. I will live like a man who leads. Because in the end, no one is coming to save you. It's your habits, your rituals, your decisions, your discipline. That is the path to power. Walk it. There's a line every man must eventually draw. A moment when he looks at his life, his habits, and his results, and realizes the truth. He's been spilling what he should have been building. Every wasted release, every empty pleasure, every night lost to a screen. All of it adds up to a slow erosion of power, presence, and purpose. You think you're just passing time, but time is passing you. And what you're giving away isn't just a few seconds of dopamine. You're giving away the raw material of greatness. Your seed is not entertainment. It's energy. It's power. It's creation. The same force that creates life, literal life, is being thrown away for nothing. And deep down, you know it. You feel it every time you finish and your mind goes foggy. Every time your ambition fades the next morning. Every time you look at your goals and feel no pull to pursue them. That's not coincidence. That's cause and effect. Because when you spill, you lose momentum. You lose edge. You lose that fire that makes you walk into the world with conviction. And without that fire, you drift. But the moment you decide to stop leaking and start building, everything begins to shift. So what does it mean to build? It means to redirect that power. It means to channel it with intention. It means to honor what you carry and to invest it where it grows. You're not just holding back. You're pointing forward. Take that same energy that used to leave your body in seconds and pour it into something that will last for decades. Start with your body. Train hard. Train consistently. Push past what's comfortable. Build muscle. Build strength. Build a body that commands respect. Not because you want attention, but because it's a reflection of your discipline. Every rep is a deposit into your future. Every session is a message to yourself. I don't waste. I build. Use that energy to fuel longer runs, heavier lifts, deeper focus. Use it to repair what you let go during your weaker years. Because your body is not separate from your mission. It's the vessel that carries it. Next, build your business, your career, your craft, your mission in the world. Every drop of wasted energy is a product you didn't launch, a sale you didn't make, a skill you didn't master. Stop chasing release and start chasing results. Sit with that restlessness you feel when you abstain. Don't numb it. Use it. Let it drive you. Let it sharpen you. Channel that primal tension into precision, into performance. Build systems. Build income. Build something that pays you back. Not in pleasure, but in freedom. Because freedom is the real reward. Not just money, not just status, but the freedom to wake up and say, I built this. No one can take that from you. Then build your legacy, a name that means something, a path your children can walk down with pride, a reputation that speaks long after you're gone. But none of that happens by accident. It's built in the days when no one's watching. It's built in the nights when your urges scream for escape, and you choose the mission instead. It's built when you transmute lust into love, energy into creation, impulse into intention. That's how legacies are made, by men who stopped playing small and started living large, on principle. Not for applause, not for attention, but because they understood this life is short and their power is sacred. Semen is not just a fluid. It's potential. It's intelligence. It's life. And you've been treating it like it's garbage. Every religion, every ancient culture, every serious warrior tradition, they all say the same thing. Protect your seed. Respect it. Use it wisely. But modern culture laughs at that. They tell you to release it daily. They call you strange for holding it in. They encourage you to weaken yourself and then sell you things to fix what they broke. It's a system designed to make you forget your power. But you're starting to remember. You feel it every time you go a few days without spilling. You feel your strength return, your instincts sharpen, your ambition rise. That's not magic. That's biology aligned with purpose. You're not here to numb yourself. You are here to build. So what does this look like practically? It looks like discipline. You build your morning instead of sleeping in. You build your body instead of draining it. You build your vision instead of escaping reality. You build your kingdom one brick at a time. You replace release with reps. You replace fantasy with focus. You replace indulgence with impact. This isn't about suppressing your sexuality. It's about mastering it. It's about becoming so intentional with your energy that every move you make builds you up rather than tears you down. You still feel the urge, but now you use it. You convert it. You alchemize it into strength, into wealth, into results, and people will start to notice. Your posture changes. Your voice deepens. Your eyes stop drifting. Your handshake firms. Your presence commands silence. Why? Because you're no longer a man split between desires. You are a man aligned with a mission. And that alignment speaks louder than words. This is the moment you turn the page. You stop wasting energy on short-term gratification. You stop giving your strength to screens and pixels and fantasy. You build instead of spill. You grow instead of escape. You lead instead of chase. Because real men build. Always. They build their mind. They build their body. They build their wealth. They build their families. They build their legacy. And they know the truth. You can't build when you're empty. You can't lead when you're leaking. You can't win when your edge is dulled by indulgence. Hold your power. Channel it. And pour it into something real. Because the world doesn't need another man chasing pleasure. The world needs a man who's building something that matters. Let that be you. There comes a moment when the noise fades, when the distractions go silent, when the quick dopamine hits no longer satisfy. And in that silence, you meet yourself, not the self you project to others, not the mask you wear on social media, but the real you. And in that quiet confrontation, a question echoes. Who do you want to be? This is not a rhetorical question. It's not some vague thought to dismiss. It's the starting point of everything that matters. Because if you don't decide who you want to be, someone else will. Society, culture, addiction, comfort. They will choose for you. They'll hand you a script, a costume, a numbed-out version of manhood that trades power for pleasure. But you are not here to be that man. You are not here to waste your time, your strength, your essence. You are here to build, to lead, to become. That path begins with a decision. So, take a breath, get still, and answer this. What are you building? Don't rush the answer. Don't write what sounds cool. Write what feels true. What is it you want to wake up for? What is it you want to give your life to? A body that commands respect? A business that gives you freedom? A family that thrives because you lead? A legacy that echoes long after you're gone? Whatever it is, write it down. Not in your head, on paper. Because when you write it down, you give form to the invisible. You turn an idea into a commitment. And commitments shape your life. Now, ask the second question. What are you protecting? Because anything worth building must be protected. Your energy, your focus, your vision, your values. Everything around you is designed to steal those from you. Cheap pleasure, endless scrolling, weak company, soft habits. They drain you. They dilute you. You must protect your fire. You must guard your mind. You must own your time. You protect it by saying no to anything that weakens you. You protect it by enforcing your boundaries. You protect it by reminding yourself every single day of what's at stake. Because every time you cave to comfort, you betray the man you said you were building. This is not about being perfect. You will slip. You will fail. You will stumble. But a man who has decided who he is gets back up faster. Because he has direction. He doesn't wander. He returns to the path. The most dangerous man is not the one who never falls. It's the one who refuses to stay down. When you decide who you want to be, failure stops defining you. It becomes feedback, correction, a lesson. You stop quitting every time it gets hard. Because now, the struggle has meaning. You're not just surviving, you're sculpting. Each rep, each early morning, each sacrifice, it's all forming the man you chose to become. That is real strength. That is real freedom. The Stoics understood this. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Read that again. You are not free because you live in a free country. You are not free because you can say what you want. You are free only when your impulses don't control you. You are free only when your emotions don't own you. You are free only when you choose your actions with clarity, not compulsion. That is self-mastery. That is the power that separates men who drift from men who drive their lives forward. So decide, today, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Now, decide who you are, not who you've been, not what your past says, not what people expect, but the highest version of yourself, the man your future is waiting for. See him clearly, write him clearly, and commit to becoming him daily. Because the world needs him. Your future family needs him. Your younger self deserves him. And you owe it to your one and only life to show up fully, for real. So don't waste yourself. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your seed, your attention, your spirit. You are meant for more than short-term comfort. You are meant for more than easy, lazy, empty days. You are meant to lead, to build, to embody what greatness looks like in a time where most men are lost. That begins with a decision. The moment you say, "I'm done leaking my power. I'm done postponing my potential. I decide who I am, and I live it." That's when things start to change. Not overnight, not magically, but steadily, irrevocably, brick by brick, day by day, discipline by discipline. Because the man who knows who he is cannot be stopped. Not by failure, not by pain, not by pressure. He has chosen himself, and that is enough. So here is your challenge. Not a motivation, not a hype video, but a clear call to action. Write it down. Who are you becoming? What are you building? What are you protecting? And then act like it. Wake up earlier. Cut the distractions. Hold your energy. Do the hard things. Say no to what weakens you. Say yes to your future. This isn't about intensity for a week. It's about identity for life. Discipline is your path. Focus is your weapon. And your decision is your key. Because no man becomes powerful on accident. He becomes powerful because he decided to become something more and refused to live any other way. That's your path now. Walk it with your chest high, eyes sharp, and spirit on fire. You've wasted enough time. Now you build. Now you lead. Now you become.